It's recording.
Oh, good.
Yep, it's got REC right there.
Oh, good.
And we have the great pleasure of being in the house with Mr. Bobby Hutcherson. Just so I make sure I don't miss, I'm going to put this mic in just to double check it. At this year's 2002 North Sea Jazz Festival in the administrative center of Holland called The Hague, the seat of the World Court. So we're holding court this morning on music issues. We're here to discuss Mr. Jackie Mclean.
Jackie.
Whom I had the good fortune that Mr. Mclean was a teacher and an early influence in my music investigations. And he reinforced the notion of the importance of Mr. Bobby Hutcherson in the legacy continuum of the jazz idiom. And so my question directed at Mr. Hutcherson this morning is could you just tell us a little bit about your early meetings with Mr. Mclean and some of the things that went into you performing in his band? So just tell us some Jackie Mclean tidbits.
Okay. Let's see. You know, before we even met, I think I heard some of those records, you know, at the Cafe Bohemia, you know, where Jackie was playing on and stuff. And was it with the George Wallington Quintet?
Yeah.
I heard him playing some records. And, you know, of course, you know, we all had I had heard the records, you know, with Miles, you know, those tunes. What was it? Biddy Diddy. I think that was what, wasn't it? Biddy Diddy, and Dr. Jekyll and those. You know, everybody was familiar with Little Melanie. Yeah, Jackie's daughter. That was a tune. A lot of musicians were playing that. So before I even met him, you know, there was that meeting, you know, and you know, you want to know who he is, what's he like. Got to be a funny sense of humor. It's got to be different, you know, because just the way the music was, you know. Gee, I had started playing vibes with Herbie Lewis, basses, and Herbie wound up in with the Jazz Tet at this particular moment. And I was driving a taxi because the group I was with, Al Gray and Billy Mitchell, had broke up after 2 or 3 years of playing. And I still hadn't met a lot of people in New York because we were on the road all the time. So the group broke up, and I didn't want to have to go back to Los Angeles or Pasadena, where I grew up. So I started driving a taxi to be able to make a living and be able to stay in New York. And I ran into Herbie, who was working with the Jazz Tet, and Gratian Monker, who was playing at the time. And Herbie told me to come over to his house, his apartment, and bring my vibes. I was lucky enough to have a taxi so I could take my vibes around, because I'd have the vibes in the trunk. And he said, come over to his house and, you know, meet Gratian and play some. And you know, it was a way for me to start meeting musicians, you know. Because like I said, even though I was with Al Gray and Billy Mitchell for 2 years, I still hadn't met a lot of the guys in New York City. So I came over to Herbie's apartment, and Grayson was there. I met him, and we started playing and having jam sessions. And Grayson says, you know, I'm supposed to do a gig with Jackie Mclean. I'm going to bring him over. I think Jackie would, you know, he'd like this, you know. So Jackie came over, and that's when I met Jackie over Herbie's house. And we started playing, and the music just started. It started going on. We would go on trips. You know, we could go. We'd go off, and we're just all young kids. And so, Jackie says, you know, I just came back from Boston, and I just met the young kid up there. His name is Tony Williams. He says, I think we're going to go take this gig at the Club Coronet in Brooklyn. And it'll be the four of us. He says, and the four will be myself. That's going to be Jackie, Grayson Moncroy, Tony Williams, and Eddie Kahn, and myself. So we started practicing, and it was just so trippy. Everything was trippy. Everything was wonderful. It was not just, you know, we weren't just playing. It was fun. I mean, every note was fun. We'd be laughing. We'd play something, and we'd have to stop and crack up about it because it would be a good thought, a good memory, you know. So we had 4 tunes that we had been practicing. Air Raid, Saturday and Sunday, Ghost Town, and Frankenstein's Mama. And man, we'd play these songs and we would just die laughing. We just thought it was the funniest thing in the world, you know. And so we said, wait a minute, when you played the Coronet Club in Brooklyn, you had to play what we call 40-20. 40 minutes on and 20 minutes off. And you start at 10 and you finish at 4. Well, that's a lot of sets. See, you got to play lots of sets. So we said, well, Jackie, how are we going to only play 4 songs? And it was a 2-week engagement. How are we going to play 4 songs and be able to do it through the night? Well, Jackie said, okay, here's what we do. He says, first, we'll open up with Saturday and Sunday, then Air Raid, then Ghost Town, then Frankenstein's Mama. And so we said, yeah, okay. What are we going to do second set? He said, Frankenstein's Mama. Ghost Town, Air Raid, and everything backwards. And then we say, okay, Jackie, now, what you going to do third set? We even started, now he starts with Air Raid, see? He was starting in the middle of it, and then we said, okay, Jackie, what are you going to do for the last set? He says, we'll do the first set all over again. So we play, you know, and, and the funniest thing was, I'm not kidding. A guy came up to me who had been there for about 3 or 4 nights in a row, and he comes up to me and he says, you know what I like about this group? I said, what? He says, you guys don't repeat yourselves. You never repeat. I haven't heard anything. said, man, your repertoire must be gigantic.
Is this some of the material? I know one of my favorite recordings of you all's is that Gracie Moncour's Evolution.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Air Raid was on, and one of my favorite Roller Coaster or something like that.
The coaster. The coaster.
The coaster.
The coaster.
The coaster.
The coaster, yeah.
So those are from that period?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
And so it was like Gratian, Jackie couldn't be on the record because we had been doing too many records as a group. We all of a sudden we started recording like mad, and so Gratian had Lee Morgan come in, and Lee Morgan was on there. He played something really different at that point because the music was going that way. But anyway, Jackie says, like, I'm going to tell Alfred Lyons, who was the head of Blue Note Records, about it. He says, let me tell Alfred Lyons about what's going on. And Alfred came down to the Cornet Club, and he says, oh, Jackie, I've got to record this. This is different. He says, it's new. It's new. And Alfred was something. Alfred really loved Jackie. Mm-hmm. You could tell just the way he loved Jackie, just the way how he said his name, Jackie. It was. It's almost like that. Yeah. It's like you Jackie.
Exhale.
Yeah, he would say, boy, he loved to say Jackie's name. Alfred did. And that was a big start for me because I think it was on the first or second recording. At that first time I was there, over Rudy Van Gelder's, Alfred came in and asked me to sign a contract. And I said, oh boy, am I in the right place at the right time? Yeah, but Jackie, that was he helped move me into that whole situation for that to happen, It was Jackie who sent me to Max Aaron's to get my union card to play in New York, in those days, if you had to have a union card, you don't find too many cats with a union card now, you know what I mean?
But then if you didn't have a union
and
card,
I'm one of them. I ain't got none anymore. But, in those days, because New York was, the New York nightclubs were really controlled by the police, and the union, So, the police had it with the cabaret card that you had to have be able to work in nightclubs, or else you couldn't work.
Did you have to pay for this card or just register?
Yeah, it was just like going to go get a driver's license, And so what happened with that situation was that a lot of if you had been busted, if you'd been arrested for anything, you couldn't get a cabaret card or it was taken away from you.
If you had any kind of police record.
Yeah. And, they had very strict laws. I mean, I think a joint was 10 years in jail.
Now, we in Holland now. A joint was 10 years in jail.
10 years. 10 years in New York City. 10 years.
Among the first league of consciousness investigators, these are people that are investigating different terrains and uses of consciousness and perception. These people we're calling jazz musicians. Mm-hmm. They are excavating new ideas and bringing about new concepts and illustrating new ways of thinking. So their devices for arriving at that might be a bit different as well. 10 years for a joint is here in a world court, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
It was scary, yeah.
Yeah,
It was scary.
I like so much the story of where Thelonious Monk goes and takes some jail time so that Bud Powell will not lose his cabaret card.
Mm.
And I often tell people, if you don't understand why Thelonious Monk went to jail for Bud Powell, you probably really can't play this music.
Mm.
You don't understand what that means.
Mm.
That's where the music begins.
You know, I tell you, Ed, I see a lot of people taking care of each other as they get older, helping them through situations that they know is going to cause harm to them and harm to the music, but helping each other, you know, as the musician, family of musicians, you know. There's that thing again.
Mm.
I went to see my stepmom, and she was sick. She's 93 years old. And she had shortly passed away, but she put on some church music just as she was about to take a nap, and she did start doing this.
Yeah, okay. Now I remember this move.
Yeah, oh,
yeah.